I'm Denise.
I'm Pukwan. Welcome to another episode of Ground Zero.
Now let's check out our lead item contributed by Stomper Jessie.
Yes, Jessie's friend Din has fallen victim to a case of physical assault at Bishan MRT station on September 7, and she decided to report the crime on Stomp right after the incident.
Well, this case is pretty bizarre looking at when and where it took place. I mean, I won't be surprised if a fight breaks out in a night spot in the wee hours, but this attack actually took place at a pretty crowded MRT station in broad daylight.
Yes, we are talking about 3 p.m. Well, if you were to look at two parties that are involved, I think you'll be scratching your head even harder. Yeah, because the assailant is a 1.8 meter tall man, and the victim Din is a very petite lady standing at a mere 1.5 meter.
Like as tall as Pukwan.
Oh no, I'm slightly taller than that. And both are complete strangers.
Okay, so the question here is, what's the reason for the attack?
We may not know what triggered the attack, but many stompers speculate that Jessie and Bin may have said something offensive which could have provoked the man.
Okay, yeah, looks like many stompers are interested to find out what the girls' conversation was about. Jessie says that the guy was a few steps ahead of them. The two friends were riding down the MRT escalator and talking when he suddenly turned back and asked them, "What did you say?"
Before the attack.
Yeah, before the attack. Right after that, he climbed up a few steps, grabbed Jessie's friend, the petite girl, by her collar, and then held her up with his right hand.
So that explains the red marks on her neck in this picture.
And the stomper says that the man punched her friend on the upper lip, left upper lip.
But many stompers are actually flaming the girls.
No.
Din and Jessie instead. For instance, Kisva said no such thing as confronting them for no reason. You and your friend probably deserve it. Well done to the man who smacked some sense into your friend.
Whoa, okay. There are others who speculate that the victim is probably very ugly, very tomboyish, and that explains why the man was angry with her and threw a punch.
I don't think that's the case. Yeah, so much speculation, but what's the basis of these speculations? You mean stompers can judge from these two pictures?
Well, for one thing, I can't. So we got back to Stomper Jessie to find out more about the incident.
Yep, Jessie and her friends had reported the matter to the police. So let's see if there are any updates on what happened.
You just met up with the police, so are there any updates from the investigation officer?
I've briefly checked with them. I understand that they have already spoken to the
attacker.
To the perpetrator, yeah, that's right. I don't think there was any reason for the attack. It was an unprovoked attack.
A lot of stompers left comments saying that you and your friend, Jessie, may have said something offensive which could have provoked the man. Is that possible?
Okay, actually I did have a chance to look at some of the remarks on Stomp. It was quite disappointing to see that there were some remarks that were very insensitive and even very crude. If you ask me if there were anything that we said at a point in time that resulted in him turning around and shouting at us to say, what did you say? I don't think there's anything, because we were talking about an espresso machine that was on sale at J8. So it was totally unrelated. And after he said, what did you say? So both of us were very taken aback, and we were quite puzzled. We were trying to find out what's wrong with him. So I remember we were turning and looking at each other, and we paused in our conversation because he shouted at us.
Okay.
Then after that, Jessie was smiling, so I turned to her and I said, "Hey, do you hear a dog?" I was just joking with her. I wasn't talking to him, I was talking to Jessie, you see.
Okay.
Then I couldn't see her reaction because I had barely completed my sentence. Next thing I know, that the guy, he stepped up on the escalator. He dragged me very hard on the collar, all the way down the escalator, probably quite a few, 5-6 steps, all the way to the landing, and then he threw me against the wall. Because of the whole commotion, everybody was looking in our direction. Jessie was shouting at him hey, you just punched a girl, what's wrong with you? And then he was trying to deny. He was saying, who punched you, or something like that.
Okay.
So then Jessie was saying so many people here, everybody saw, and then there's a security camera. How can you even try to deny that? Yeah. Then after that, there was an elderly couple next to her who was commenting, 明明打人还讲没有. There was this teenage boy who ran up the stairs to get the SMRT security officer down. At that point, I think he realized that the situation has changed or something, and then he started to try to play it down, and because when he threw me against the wall, I dropped all my library books. That I borrowed previously. So he ran over to the wall, and then he started picking up the books, and then he said something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just lost my cool. It's no big deal, really."
Oh.
So we were like very appalled, like, oh wow, you just hit
Okay.
somebody and you tell me it's no big deal.
How do you plan to settle the case? Like, would you bring the attacker to court, or would you settle it out of court?
At this point in time, I do not have a very clear decision yet, but I think we are more inclined to pursue this case because it's not about compensation or anything. It's about to make sure that people are aware of such a thing happening, and more importantly, you actually be punished and not dare to do something like this to somebody else in future.